Hi everybody, it's Dr. Mary Gardner with Lap of Love, and I am here this morning with Duncan, my Doberman, and I wanted to thank you all for joining in and listening to this video. And I wanted to focus today on just managing a geriatric pet and a terminally ill one at that, and just ways that you can sort of navigate this time, because it is very, very difficult. Hi guys. And I know that many of you are struggling with yourself, with your own pet, and also helping you decide when it's time. So I thought it best for me to do this video because I'm in the same boat right now myself. So this is Duncan. Duncan is 13 and a half years old, which for a Doberman is really advanced, and I know that. So I know I'm blessed that I've had a good amount of time with him. But we actually adopted him when he was 6 years old, so we didn't get him until he was almost a senior. So that was a big blessing in our lives that we were able to adopt him. And found such a great dog, and this goes to show you that even older dogs can get adopted, and I love the gray muzzles. So we got him about 7 years ago, and so he just turned 13 a few months ago. And just to let you know what he's struggling with now, besides being utterly handsome and a lady killer, he has a few issues, and really what he's struggling most with is mobility, and then his heart. So a lot of dogs and cats also, as they get older, they're gonna suffer with and have arthritis and bad hips or shoulders or elbows. But also just as pets get older, they get weaker, so the muscles get thinner, they atrophy. And so I always think of these guys with spaghetti legs. They got these little shaky legs in the back, and that's a very common thing as a pet ages. But Duncan, on top of that, he also has a neuropathy. And so basically his neurons just don't fire right. And I know many of our families have pets that have a type of neuropathy. So maybe degenerative myelopathy, which is something that affects German Shepherds a lot. So Duncan's is kind of similar to that, a little bit different, where when he goes for walks maybe two years ago, he started just to drag his back toes, and I'd hear his nails scraping on the ground. So you'll see that just as almost the start of neuropathies, where they stumble or they trip. And so that started happening about 2 years ago. And then unfortunately it does progress and get worse over time, where he struggles to get up. Once he's up, he can kind of manage his way around, but getting up and going down is probably the biggest challenge for him. And then some days he just, he has a really hard time out there in the yard. So we're managing that as best we can. So he has that. And then over the summer, so last July or August, I noticed him just breathing funny and coughing a bit more. So even though I'm a veterinarian, I know to take him to the specialist. And so, hi Eric, hi Ashley. And so I brought him to the cardiologist, and because I know that with Dobermans, it is something that they're commonly affected is bad hearts. So he was diagnosed with something called dilated cardiomyopathy, which is basically DCM, and that is a big floppy heart that doesn't push the blood out well when his heart beats. So he's got that, and along with an arrhythmia. So not only does his heart not squish really well, it also just is kind of wonky, and so the electricity is not working right either. So Dale, I just wanted to give you a summary of really the two main things that he's struggling with. So we've got his mobility and then his bad heart. And so oftentimes our pets will have multiple problems going on, and then within that problem, what are the things that the symptoms that we're going to see? And so when we help families with their terminally ill or very advanced aged pet, we always are asked, how will I know his time? And that's a question that I'll probably get asked multiple times a day, and all the Lap of Love veterinarians are asked this as well. And so I thought I'll give you the ways that I help families, and also the ways that I'm thinking with Duncan specifically. So I know right now he looks pretty good. He looks chill. This is morning time. I'm out here in Southern California. So hi everybody, lunchtime on the East Coast. But mornings are usually a little bit better for him, and as the day progresses, things start to advance, and he breathes a little differently, and a lot of times we'll see that. So we'll see nighttime panting or pacing, which he doesn't do necessarily, but just his increase in respiration, and that not only does it affect him, it affects me, because I start freaking out looking at him breathing funny. So just because I'm a vet doesn't mean I'm not affected by by my guy's symptoms and what that means. So when families ask us about when is time, I always talk to them about how to evaluate quality of life, and really there's a couple of components. First is I want to know what the main ailment that pet has, and so with Duncan, really it's two, right? So we've got his mobility and we have his heart issues, and so I want to know not only what symptoms that is going to present during their life and managing it. Oh, Dr. Dan was great. A good shout out for Dr. Dan. He's awesome. So Nicole, Duncan is 13, a little over 13. So he is definitely an old man, a geriatric, but I think he looks pretty good for his age. So back to the ailment that the pet may have, and when I'm determining helping families and deciding when is time, I not only want to see the symptoms that they're going to have while they're managing it, while they're still alive, and then also the symptoms that they're going to face as they die. And so I know it's a hard thing for us to talk about sometimes and cope with, but I think it's very important. So the way we die is really important to me. And so Ashley says he looks like a great 13-year-old thanks to mom. I'd like to take some credit, but good genes too, I think. So I know that many of you are struggling with the decision, and Angela, you are as well. And so I think about how Duncan may die with his two main ailments, right? So with mobility, that's not going to be an organ failure, right? So that's not his heart is failing or his kidneys are failing. So what happens when he can't get up one day? When he can't, when he struggles to go to the bathroom and he falls and I'm not around maybe, and he can't get up. And so I know there's going to be days where I help him up and he gets up and then he starts walking again, but there's going to be days where he can't get up. But will he pass from that? And the answer is usually no. And so with mobility issues, a lot of times the owners are waiting and waiting and waiting for their pet to pass at night, or when they're not home or when they're sleeping or something like that. But with mobility, sometimes we have to actually help them pass, because that ailment itself is not going to be life limiting. So it's definitely not something that is easy to manage, a dog with mobility issues. Now Duncan, he's 110 pounds, so he's a big guy, but even little 30-pound beagle that's got really bad arthritis and is struggling is hard to help up and move around. So luckily you guys can't really tell from the video maybe, but I'm a big girl. I'm 6'1", so I can use a lot of physics and leverage behind me to pick up Duncan when he does stumble. But for most, that's not something that they can handle. So the way a pet will pass from mobility is going to be very different than the way a pet will pass from an organ failure or maybe even cancer. And so with Duncan's heart problem, that actually is going to lead to either two ways that he will pass. I mean, basically two ways. Either one day his heart will have such a bad arrhythmia that it just doesn't beat well, and so the blood won't circulate, and he'll pass basically instantly. So he'll pass out, and then he will pass. So sudden death. But the other way, the heart conditions will lead to passing is that the heart doesn't function well, so there's a fluid buildup, and so there'll be fluid buildup in the lungs, and that's why we hear a lot of the coughing and the struggling to breathe, or the increased respiratory effort. And so I always watch his respiratory rate, and I count his rate every day and every night, and when he's resting. And as you can see, hopefully, he's resting really well right now, and so his breathing looks good. But there are some days where I see his belly is pushing, and so that I don't like so much. Okay, so I've got Angela. So she's got a 15-year-old silky terrier. I love terriers. I'm just going to read more. And she's getting afraid, and it's almost scary to carry them. So that's a really good point. Carrying pets, and especially when they're painful, they may not like getting carried. So even though you might have a smaller animal that you can carry, going up and down stairs can be dangerous. You might hold them in a way that hurts, so then they might snap, and that's not normal for them. So even the small guys, it's not easy managing those mobility issues. But with Duncan, with his heart, I want to make sure that he doesn't go into heart failure, which is basically such a great amount of fluid buildup in the lungs that he struggles to breathe. And so that's what I'm dealing with right now. And whether he passes instantly from arrhythmia or heart failure, Mother Nature will has a little bit of a say in that. But if she doesn't, and things go longer over time where he starts to struggle breathing, then I will absolutely make that decision to say goodbye. And because I don't want him to feel that anxiety of not being able to breathe. And so that is why when we're talking about quality of life and how to decide when it's time, the first thing I think of is what is going on with the pet. So what's their main ailment, and what is the progression of that, and also, how fast do I have to make that decision? So with mobility issues, oftentimes it'll be 2 or 3 days where they're having a really hard time and they can't get up, or they're haven't gotten up on their own for a few days, and so we make that decision, and we don't have to rush them to an emergency room, let's say, because they're in distress. Although a dog that's down and in pain can be very distressful. But with a heart failure, to me, that is the worst type of anxiety, because when you can't breathe, how hard that is. And so I want to make sure that Duncan never has to experience that, which means I will have to make that decision sooner than later. Okay, so Angela says her little one has dimension senility also. So that is a big problem with our older guys, is having cognition issues. So just like Alzheimer's, if you will, in humans, they have a very similar problem, and you might find them stuck in places, or just staring at a wall, and that's so hard to see, right? So Duncan surprisingly does not have that right now. Oh, you guys are so, David, Little John, hi. So really, there's so many ailments that can happen, and some ailments, like what Angela was mentioning with dementia. how do we decide when it's time when they're not necessarily present, and it's hard. So now up to some other things that I think about when I'm determining quality of life or helping a family is the pet's personality. So how well are they managing their symptoms? And there are some dogs that are fine if they're struggling to get up and they're kind of laying in bed all day and they're couch potatoes. But there are some dogs, especially with high prey drive, or we're working dogs or agility dogs, just being a couch potato is not something that they can handle, and so they get very anxious. Or a lot of dogs with cognition, they get anxious, and so their personality, or maybe all the medicines I have to give them. I have to give him, and I'm going to show you guys all his medicines, and it's a lot. And so are they tolerating that well? Are they tolerating if you have to give sub-Q fluids? So I have somebody who wants to know what I'm feeding him. All right, so I'm going to get to his food and his medicines in just a second. So anyway, I want to make sure that the pet's personality is looked at, and are they dealing with things okay? The next, out of the 4 things I think about, the ailment, the pet's personality, next is the family's beliefs. So we all have different beliefs, and nobody's right. Nobody's wrong and nobody's right on saying when is time. And I think that no matter what our beliefs are, everybody here listening just doesn't want their pet to suffer. And so I think that's what we all have in common. And so for some families, saying goodbye sooner than later is what they believe in. And so they don't want to wait until the very end. And I've helped some families where their pet was just recently diagnosed with cancer, and they don't want their pet to ever feel the effects of that. And so we've said goodbye sooner than many might, and they might want to keep going. I've had some families that tell me that they would have euthanized Duncan already, and that's okay. So as long as he's not in a sustained state of suffering, which I'll talk about in a little bit, I'm okay with that. But the decision is a family's decision, and I have to respect also their beliefs, but guide them medically and help them along with understanding the symptoms. And then the last part of deciding when it's time, I'm trying to read these things too. Oh, so kibble. We're looking at the prescription diets. The last thing is our budgets. And so we all have different budgets. And now I'm not just talking about the monetary budget, but let's discuss that for a second. Sometimes the ailments that our pets have, there's not much medicine that we can do. So let's say with cognition, there is some medicines that we can give for anxiety so they can help sleep better at night. There's some pheromone sprays. There's a really great diet for those with cognition issues. Bright Minds by Purina. So it's not much of an expense to care for those pets. But then there's other ailments that do, and also the size of the pet. So with Duncan, he's 110 pounds, like I mentioned. He's a big guy. And so with his arthritis and his mobility issues, on top of that, now I have cardiac meds to give. That can get expensive. And so you guys are all chatting with yourselves about the food, which is great. And so financially, can I afford to give him the proper medications? And I'll show you. I have all his meds here. It's a lot. The next budget is time. So time budget. Do we have time to care for the pet properly? Duncan, with his heart medicine, he has to have a medicine called Lasix, and that's going to kind of dry out his lungs to make him breathe better. So that will also make him drink more. So we have some pets that are on steroids or Lasix like this, which is going to make them drink more, which means pee more. And so Duncan, he is a big guy, so his pee puddle is not insignificant, and so one of us has to be home every 4 hours to let him out, or he will have an accident in the house. And as much as I love him, accidents in the house is not conducive to daily living. And so he won't go on a wee-wee pad. He's too big for a little diaper. And there are some of you that have small dogs that will go on wee-wee pads, so that's fantastic. but he cannot. He's so big, so we have to let him out. And so I've got a lot of bath mats around that sometimes I'll have an accident on those. But I have hardwood floors, and so that's not easy to clean up. So do I have the time to care for him? And I'm luckily in a position where one of us can be home every 4 hours. But if not, then that's okay. And so we just have to think about that. And can we properly care for them? The next budget, so I've got the finance, the time, is the physical budget. So can I physically handle this? And with him, like I said, I can pick him up, so that's okay. Am I able to physically give him all his medications? Yes. So I can physically handle it. But if I can't, or if some of you are struggling with a smaller dog and you can't actually physically handle it, then that's okay as well. The last budget is higher. The last budget is the emotional budget. So how am I handling this emotionally? And I gotta tell you, it's hard. So if any of you have a pet that's terminally ill or advanced age, you know that this is hard. It's an emotional struggle. Every morning I wake up to see if he's still here. When I go to bed, I make sure I say how much I love him just in case he does pass in the night. But even when I leave at any time during the day, I say I love him, because at any time they could pass, right? So we all think about them going to bed and passing in the sleep, but that doesn't happen. And my Doberman before Duncan, he actually passed when I was out in the middle of the day. So we could talk about natural passing maybe in another video. There's a lot to talk about. So that's the emotional. Can I emotionally handle this? And also the emotions of everybody in the house. So one of the things is that a lot of times couples will not be in alignment on what they believe in is either right or what they can manage, and so there'll be a lot of interfighting, if you will. So some of you are single pet parents, if you will, and so you might think that's difficult because you're the sole caretaker, but in some ways it's better, because then you don't have somebody else to struggle with. And I'll admit it's not always the easiest between Duncan's dad and I, and so what we believe in and what we struggle with. Don't worry, buddy. So back to evaluating quality of life. Those are the 4 things I'm going to look at: is the pet's ailment, the pet's personality, the family's beliefs, and then also the budget, so finance, time, physical, and emotional. So there comes a point, or there's always a point when I go to help a family, or when any Lap of Love veterinarian goes to help a family, they'll always say, do I think it's time? And so there's a time where euthanasia is not the best option. The quality of life for the pet is okay, the quality of life for the family is okay, and so euthanasia is not something that we would suggest. On the other hand, there comes a time where euthanasia is probably most appropriate because there is sustained suffering. So does Duncan struggle sometimes during the day? Yes. Absolutely, and I struggle along with him. So I hate to see it, but there are days where he might struggle more, and so that's what I want to be monitoring and making sure that he doesn't have those days or lead into suffering. And so when I'm helping a family, either the pet's quality of life is so good that euthanasia is not appropriate, or it's so bad that it's actually the best option is to say goodbye. Now, in between those two time periods is what I lovingly call the roller coaster. So how many of you are on the roller coaster now? And that's probably a lot of you. And that roller coaster has ups and downs, and you will have really good days, and you're going to have crashing bad days. You're going to make the decision to euthanize. You're going to make an appointment with Lap of Love, and then you're going to call the next day and cancel because it was a good day. And so we totally understand that, and I personally get it. So along with the time budget, like I was talking about, traveling is a factor. I'm actually leaving tomorrow for 10 days, and so I worry about Duncan being managed with Dad for 10 days alone. Let's not tell him. So that's going to be really hard as well. But anyway, so the roller coaster is a tough phase to be in, and that's where most of you actually will be in, and that's when most of you call us for help. And so I like to tell owners, at any time when we're in that roller coaster phase, it's a subjective time period. At any time during that phase, it's okay to say goodbye. And so it's okay to say goodbye when you've had a really bad day, a couple in a row. It's also okay to say goodbye when it's a good day. And so a lot of people, that's what they want. They want to say goodbye on a good day. So just keep that in mind, where we don't want to wait necessarily for it to be so bad that they're suffering. And I know there's not just a look that he's going to give me one day to wake up to say it's time, right? But if he does have a really bad look, that means he's actively suffering. And so I actually don't want to see that. Angela, her dog has Cushing's. My Doberman before him had Cushing's, and my Samoyed had Cushing's. So I know Cushing's very well. So again, back to Duncan with his mobility issues. Some things around the house. I wanted to help you with manage. Hi, Greg. I wanted to help give you some tips about managing a mobility dog. And I could do just a video on mobility issues if you guys are up for it one day. So around the house, like I said, I've got hardwood floors. And so around the house, I've got bath mats and runners, if you will, with rubber backing. So that way he's got something to grip onto. Basically, the entire house is covered like that. So there are little, spaces in between the regs sometimes that, of course, he catches his foot on that and he'll fall. But I've probably got, I'm looking over there, I have about 30 bath mats, maybe even 40 around the house, and they all don't match, so it doesn't look great, and that's okay. So with the mobility, it's really important that they have good traction. We don't have any stairs, which is a blessing, but a lot of you have stairs, so I want you to be careful with that. Using a harness, there's a harness called Help 'em Up harness. That's my favorite harness out there. And so watch, being mindful of the steps, even if it's one or two, you want to make sure that somebody's there to help them up or down. Getting in and out of the car, he cannot get in and out of my Ford Explorer anymore. So we have a minivan that is now basically Duncan. So we removed all the seats and he's got his own little minivan. So it's hard to sometimes get them up or down, or even he used to sit on the couch. He can't sit on the couch anymore. He can only, use his dog beds, which is probably a good thing. So, the harness is really good. And then I've had some families that will get, in bathtubs where you can put the sticky thing at the bottom of the bathtub so that way you don't slip. I've had some families put that along stairs outside. So if they have stairs out for a deck or down the front steps, they'll actually use that as well. So with the mobility, it's just making sure that he's safe and that he doesn't get stuck somewhere too. And so there is one area of the house where we can't put the bath mats. And so of course it's the area that he wants to go to. So I have to keep him from that. you know, we can suggest baby gates, which are nice to keep, you know, if there's like a hallway or whatever. But the other trick is tension rods. So these are like little tension rods. I got these at Walmart for $2. And so what I did is I put like 3 or 4 up in a row for down the hallway that I don't want him to go down. So maybe just cheap tension rods instead of a whole baby gate to block off a certain area. And what's nice about these is that if you've got like banisters for stairwells, that these are easier to fit through that. My only word of caution is to make sure you remember that they're there and don't trip over them yourself. So that has happened. So that's just some quick tips about his mobility. Now, his heart, like I mentioned, he does have, he is on a lot of medications, and one of those medications is going to make him pee a lot. So we do have to be here to let him out every 4 hours. But if you notice, he has a really nice orthopedic bed, but on it, and if he pees on this bed, it's not easy to wash this mattress, and you know, those mattresses are never like totally waterproof, right? And so what I did for his bed is I went and got a baby mattress. Hi, Dom. So I got a baby mattress cover, rather, that's waterproof. So basically anything that's, you know, baby is waterproof, right? So you can either get a baby mattress if you want to get a secondhand baby mattress. They're usually waterproof, and they're the perfect size for a big guy like him. But I got this white cover that is like a fitted sheet, if you will, if you can see it. And so I just put that around his dog bed, and then he's got 4 dog beds, so we have 4 of those. And then if he happens to have an accident in the night, it's much easier to wash. So he's had a couple of accidents. Usually it happens when I have to change his meds a little bit and alter them, and so he just doesn't realize, or if mom is lazy and forgets to let him out, you know, one last time before night. So I do oftentimes wake up in the middle of the night to let him out, like at 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes as well. So the other thing is I want to keep him calm, and keeping him calm is sometimes a struggle. He's a Doberman. He wants to protect the house. Although any of you who've met Duncan knows that he is like the biggest lover once you're allowed into the inner circle. But if that doorbell rings, he's going to freak out. So I've got signs that I found on Amazon that basically says, "Don't ring the doorbell," because I've got a guard dog. And so I don't have anybody ringing the doorbell. Just keep that in mind when you need a UPS package and you have to sign for something. So that also has happened to me, where I have to, you know, go find the packages. Oh yes, okay. You guys are talking about some great ways to manage incontinence. So the anxiety is important, and I also know the days that the lawn guys come, and that's every other Monday, so I make sure that somebody's here, because if he gets worked up because he hears the lawn guys or the leaf blowers, and then also the garbage truck. He doesn't like the garbage truck so much, so I'll either bring him for a walk when it comes, so that way I just kind of keep him calm. I also have a sound machine, so if I'm out, I have, you know, the lovely sound of the ocean or rain or whatever, so I play that really loud just to keep him, you know, not listening to kids playing on the street or anything like that. And there's also some pheromone sprays that you can use to help with the anxiety. So with his heart, I just want to keep him calm. And also with his mobility, if he gets worked up and goes, you know, to attack the front door, he might get stuck and fall. So I definitely want to try to reduce that. He's being so good. So, now I want to just touch base on all medications that some of you may have to have your pet on. And like I said, there are some ailments that don't have a lot of medicines, but mine, I do have a lot. So I'm going to just show you. I have a tray that I created just for this video to show you all the meds that he's on. And so I know that many of you are struggling with a lot of meds. And so with Duncan, hey buddy, so I've got meds here that are just for his mobility issues, right? So I've got a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. I've got gabapentin, which is a pain management. I've got amantadine, so these are his pain management. And then he also has, you know, low thyroid, don't they all? And then all these are for his heart. So I've got Lasix to help dry out his lungs. I've got Mixilotine, which is an anti-arrhythmia, and then I've got Pimobendin, which is used for some heart diseases like he has. So these are a lot of medications, and this one pill is massive. There's one of these that's like, I'll show you the size of this. It is like a horse pill. So even for him, and it's chalky, so it's hard to get down. So I know that it's difficult. And I always want to make sure he's got the most. They're all important, but I know that his heart, if he doesn't get his heart meds, that's the worst thing. So I always want to make sure that he's eating his heart meds. Or getting his heart meds. But sometimes some of these medications can also make them a little bit inappetent, or he's just not hungry, that hungry on a day. As pets get older, they decrease their appetite. It's just a normal function. They don't need that much calories, and so that's hard when you require food to get some of these pills down. And so luckily he's got a big schnoz, so I can pill him easy, but some of these chalky pills, it's not, and he doesn't like to get pilled so much. So we have a wide variety of our pill pockets that we use, and I bet you some of you are like me, and then you have to revert to other things like cat food. So I'll have to put. He does like this cat food, and then I've got multiple kinds of cat foods because he's just not going to like the same brand of cat food for a week, right? And then we've got different dog food. But the problem with some of these is it gives him farts and he stinks. So I also added on a probiotic to make sure, that his gases are okay. And I don't mind his stinky farts, but sometimes they're bad. Anyway, so I just tell you that because I also know. I've reverted to cottage cheese sometimes and even Cheese Whiz, and I just put a little Cheese Whiz on the pill, and sometimes he takes it. So, but there are days where he doesn't want to take anything, and that's hard because I know he needs his meds. So I'm gonna give him a little cookie treat because he's being so good right now. And then there are days where if he doesn't want to eat anything all day, we do have some really good options now for appetite stimulants. And so I have something that's new on the market called Entice, and it's a liquid. So I just give him about a tablespoon of this via a syringe. And I call this my magic juice. And in about 2 hours or less, he usually then has an appetite to eat his meal. I don't mind so much if he doesn't eat a meal. Like I said, again, these guys when they're older, they're gonna decrease their caloric intake requirements, and it's just a reality of aging and ailing pets is that they're gonna decrease their appetite. But I need him to get his pills. So that's one of the main reasons why I give him the appetite stimulant is because I want him to have the meal so that way it's easier for me to pill him. But there is a saying in human hospice. Oh, hi, Lindsay, you're so sweet. There's a saying in human hospice that food and water are for the living, and the body won't eat or drink for a future it knows it doesn't have. And so I know that it's sad when our pets don't want to eat, and we chase them with turkey and tuna cans and stuff like that, and I do it too. But I also realize that, eventually his body won't want any food because it doesn't need any food. And it's just a reality of what I am dealing with. So anyway, I just wanted to show you guys that I do have a lot of medications, and it's not easy, and I get it. This is not cheap either. And so especially with his size, but not all ailments require all these medications. I don't have kids either. He's my kid, so I spend all my money on him. But it's time. Oh, that's the other thing. So his heart medicines, some of them are 3 times a day, and his other drugs are 2 times a day. So really about 5 times a day we have to give him medicine. So that's hard. And so my point is, it's hard. I know it, and I'm on that roller coaster ride with you guys as well. So assessing quality of life, we went over that earlier, so if you missed it, you can go back. But some tools to help you, we have on our website, lapoflove.com. We have a lot of great quality of life scales. There's different ones out there, it's not one size fits all. Hi, bud. So there's different options. We have a lot of material online. But one thing I'm doing for Duncan is and we have this also online, it's just a calendar, and it's a blank calendar, and every month I'll print this out, and I'll write April, and I'll put the days in there. And so what I'm doing, if you can see here, so on bad days, I will do an X, and I'll highlight it, and whether you could, oh, hi, Debbie. Oh, yes, I remember you guys. I'll be back in South Florida soon. So I'll X out the bad days because I want to keep track of these things. We talk about I want more good days than bad, right? Like that's usually our line in the sand is when they're having more bad days than good, then we want to say goodbye. But if we don't monitor it and we're not measuring it, we're never going to know, because I guarantee you, and I've done it myself, you'll have 3 bad days in a row. and then all of a sudden you've got a good day, or maybe a half a good day, and you forgot about all those other bad days, right? And so, so we're always going to concentrate on the good days. So that's why we have to write it down. Sort of like diet plans or anything, you got to write it all down. And so I will use this is the easiest thing for me right now. And then I'll write little notes in there. So we had a good walk. He went down to the end of the street. He didn't have any respiratory issues today. And then I'll even write down his respiratory rate, his rest and respiratory rate, because of his heart issues. So just keeping notes, keeping a diary can be really helpful. We also have an app. It's free. It's called Gray Muzzle, so you can get it for your iPhone or your Android. And it's just a way to just every day say if it's a good day, a bad day, or just a medium day. And we have a calendar and a pie chart and everything, just so you can keep track of it. So, Andy, so shoot us another email if so I hear you didn't get a response. So certainly I'll look into that. We have some stuff on our website. We've got our scales. We've got the app. There's other scales out there. If you just search, there's other organizations that have it. So it's, I think that's the most important thing is to write things down and also come up with the way you want them to go. And I know this is probably the hardest thing to think about is ever saying goodbye. And so for me, I don't like to say goodbye. I want to see you later, right? And so for my see you later, for Duncan, I want to be present. And so I missed the opportunity to say goodbye to my last Doberman. I wasn't present. I actually lost a cat recently that, so yes, somebody asked if I can print them off our website. Yes, it's under the quality of life section. There's scales, there's calendars, and everything. So print them off, send them to people that you know who have an issue. So my last Doberman, he passed when I wasn't home. I lost a cat recently when I was traveling, so I had to have another lap love veterinarian come to the house, and we Skyped, and so I couldn't be present to say goodbye. So for me, I want to be present. I want to make sure he's feeling good, which means I've got some good medications that I can make sure he's feeling good before he goes. And so I want to be snuggling him. So he's a big guy. I want to spoon him when I let him go. And so I don't want it to be such a bad day where he's struggling. So I'm going to be monitoring this. But the point is we have to draw a line in the sand at some point to say, okay, what is bad, what is so bad that we don't want them to get past. So let's say you have a dog with cognitive, dysfunction, and they're anxious all night, and they're maybe write down to say, you know what, if there's 4 nights in a row where he's not sleeping and he's up more than 50% of the time, then it's maybe something we want to say goodbye. Oh, somebody made a great point to video those bad days. That's fantastic, because you also forget taking pictures and videoing and looking back at them is so important. So even I always tell all my owners, take pictures, take videos, not just for the good, because I like the good too, but also for those bad, because you want to make sure that you look back and you remember, because we have something called denial goggles on. And so one of my clients, she actually gave me this, I was helping her with her dog Darby years ago. And so she said, Dr. Mary, I did quality of life scales and they all said excellent. And she said, because I'm on denial island, so I need you to help. So she actually called me over for a consultation just to help go over the quality of life scales with her, because when she was doing them, she had these denial goggles on. And so sometimes you need someone else in your house, a family member or a friend to help you out. And make this decision, because being a mom or dad, sometimes we do have those denial goggles on. So I also want to talk about bucket lists real fast. I love bucket list ideas, and there's so many of our clients have done some wonderful ones. And so for Duncan, now that he's older, he doesn't really chase moles and squirrels anymore. But for him, I want to make sure that all the people that love him come and visit. So like I said, when I started, he's a bit of a lady killer. So here in Southern California, we have 4 veterinarians that help families here, and they all love Duncan. So I want to have a little party for him with all his girlfriends loving on him. He's also a huge fan of In-N-Out, and so I try to give him In-N-Out once hi Tracy, once a week. Again, it adds to his farts, but it's worth it, and he loves his French fries, so we try to do that. I do take loads of pictures. I've had a professional photo session done with him, because I just really, and it's not just for me and him, but I want him, so pictures of him and his paws and his nose and everything. So his In-N-Out burgers, visits, like I said. And then the other thing I recommend to all the families is to give lots of love just specifically, just you and your pet for 15 minutes a day, everybody in the house. And I know you're all saying, but I always give them love. Put away your phone, turn off the TV, and just sit there and love on them. There's been a lot of research done that says if you're able to say I love you to someone before they pass, you actually handle the grief of their passing even better. And so I know that many of you just want Mother Nature to help and for them to pass in the night. But if you woke up or if you came home and they were gone, you might feel bad that you haven't said I love you. So that's why every day say it. We should say it to each other, right? But definitely say it to your pet as often as you can. So I want to make sure his see you later day isn't one that I'm going to regret that I waited too long. And it still may be, you know, and this is what I think it's easier for me as a veterinarian to help families than it is as me as a pet mom. So, you know, I don't want to say I'm sad when I'm going to let him go, because I am going to be sad. I have had a great 7+ years with Duncan, but I know I only borrow him for a little bit and I got to give him back. And I have been so blessed to have him. And he has taught me so much as just a veterinarian dealing with this, so I can appreciate how hard it is for all of you guys to manage. No judgment, right? So if I decided to say goodbye to him tomorrow, you know, there might be some of you that are like, wow, he looked really good. Why'd you do that? And so I just want us to be supportive of each other when we say goodbye. So if I want to do it when he's still well, then that's okay too, right? Food allergies. I'd love to give her what she wants. Okay, so that's hard when you got food allergies, because then they're itching like crazy. So I understand. But you know what? On the last day, and this is, I always tell families, if your pet still has an appetite, give him whatever they want. So if he wants ice cream or cupcakes or chocolate or whatever, I want him to have such a good meal. My friend Greg, I don't know if he's still on, but I have this fantastic picture, and if it's okay, I'll post it later, of his dog Yogi. I told Greg, Yogi had mobility issues. He was a yellow lab, so a lot of yellow labs, you know, have mobility issues. And so, 15 minutes of unplugging, Eric, yes. So Yogi had mobility issues, and I told Greg to have whatever he wants to eat. So when I arrived at Greg's house, I turned the corner, and there was Yogi with a big pizza. He had like corn dogs and hamburgers, and like, it was awesome to see. And he has this huge smile on his face. And so I want Duncan to have as much In-N-Out as he wants that day. Maybe a few fries for me as well. Dora, yes. Okay, thank you. I'll definitely post his picture up there. So, you know, I want you guys to share your ideas too. So certainly put in the comments, you know, many come to me on good days and days that are very sad. Oh, they'll always have to. So these comments are great, and I'm going to spend more time reading them. I know I don't want to go too much longer, but let's share our ideas with each other. So if you have some great ideas about different types of food that you've used, you know, like I said, with my cheese whiz has been helpful. It's disgusting stuff. Like, it's not even real. Maybe it's real cheese. I don't know. But you know, things like the tension rods, different harnesses that you use. So let's share. And you know, if you need some guidance at home, certainly, you know, reach out to us. If we have a Lap of Love veterinarian in your area, if you go to our website, which is lapoflove.com, you can put in your zip code, and the veterinarian that covers your area will pop up with their information and contact, and we can come out and just do an evaluation and a quality life assessment. And sometimes just having someone there, a fresh set of eyes, not only can help give you some ideas of how to manage, but also to give you reassurance that you're doing a good job. And you know, that's why I bring him to the cardiologist, because I want to make sure that I've done everything, that I've adjusted his meds accordingly. But even if there was no medications and it was just making sure that my house is set up properly, you know, maybe just having that reassurance will help you guys. So certainly having us come out just for quality life assessments. I'm going to read all these comments when I'm done. Might be a good idea. And of course, when it comes time to say goodbye, I hope that you'll reach out to us and we'll help you, you know, make it a good goodbye. So we have a lot of stuff on our website, lapoflove.com. We've got quality life scales. We've got education pieces. Both Dr. Danny and I want to do more of these live videos if you guys like them. So I would love to do them as much as we can, and maybe just focus on one disease. So maybe one day we'll just focus on cognition. One day we'll focus on kidney failure. I just really wanted to show you guys that you're not alone. And there are many of us Lap-O-Love vets that are dealing with their own pets and saying goodbye, and it's hard. So I get it. I have wonderful thoughts for all of you, and I hope that you all have as much time as you can. But I want it to be good time. You know, our priority should not just be about living longer, but about living better. And so I would much rather have a shorter amount of time with Duncan, but good time, than a lot of bad time with him. So just that's something to keep in mind. I just want him to have it good. I mean, he looks like he's got it good. So today is a good day. I'm not going to put an X on the calendar today, but it's still early, and so he may start to get a little anxious. But he's starting to snooze already and dream twitch. But anyway, thank you guys for being here. If you have any questions, keep putting them in the comments and I'll answer them throughout the day. There's a lot of great stuff on our website. And again, if you need any one of our Lap-O-Loves veterinarians to come out and just, give you some guidance or help or, hold your hands through this, certainly reach out. We also have a wonderful group of care coordinators when you call in that are the most phenomenal group of people out there. I know some of them are listening. Rich, I will give Duncan a big kiss for sure. And I also have my own personal website or Facebook page. So it's Dr. Mary Gardner, Dr. Mary Gardner. So I'll post more, information on Duncan, and just if you want to follow, my path with him, because it's been a long one, and we'll see how much longer. I count the days as massive blessings, and I'm going to miss him when I travel, but I am I must travel for work, and so hopefully when I get back I'll still have some good times with him. So I hope this was helpful to many of you. If you've got any questions, like I said, pop them in the comment box. You can reach out to us, give us a call, and have a great rest of your Thursday. Bye, guys.